You're welcome back to press conference right here on Citi TV. Before I introduce my guest, of course, the show is live and interactive via the WhatsApp line 055-058-5832. 055-058-5832. You can also join us via Twitter with the hashtag press conference, and also join us on the Facebook stream and drop your comments, and we'll be glad to read them for you. Joining me to the discussions tonight is appearing on the show for. It's been a while since he appeared on the show, but he's quite been regular on it. To my immediate left is Elvis Darko, the editor of the Finder newspaper. You're welcome, Elvis.
Thank you.
Next to him is Larry Alance Dogbe, editor of the Herald newspaper.
Sure.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
We're expecting a third guest, as in when he gets in, we would introduce him to also join the discussions right here on the press conference on Citi TV. Well, I'll begin with the matters surrounding the PDS deal, PDS saga. In the course of the week, ECG and PDS agreed on some modalities to prevent the disruption of power supply. But before that, the president spoke for the first time on this issue on his trip in Angola in the course of the week. We'll take a steps of that.
We decided the first thing to do was to protect the public assets by suspending the participation of this private sector operator, returning the assets to the control of ECG, whilst a process of investigation was being carried out. Earlier, 2 days ago, I sent a delegation to Qatar, which was the origin of the guarantee, to go and to find out exactly what the situation is. They met them. And they're on their way back to Ghana. By the time I get back to Accra tomorrow, they would have brought us a report. Then we'll know exactly where we are. But it was necessary for us to act in this manner, to protect the public interest, to protect the assets. The ECG assets are in excess of 3 billion cedis. These are not assets that you can take lightly. So it's important that the country understands that these measures and initiatives were taken to protect the public interest and to make sure that potential delinquency, if that's what turns out to be, was nipped in the bud as soon.
So that was President Akufo-Addo there. Now later on in the week, the PDS and ECG actually put out a statement detailing fresh arrangements. You know, initially when the matter came up, government said had suspended PDS and all of its operations. That's with regard to the retail of electricity. But ECG and PDS came to some form of agreement, and a joint statement which was issued regarding that reads in part that following the issuance of a public notice by the Energy Commission appointing Electricity Company of Ghana as interim operator to take charge of the management and operation of electricity and the retention by power distribution services of the electricity distribution license in the Southern Electricity Zone, ECG and PDS have agreed on interim operational modalities. This is to ensure that there is no disruption of power supply and service delivery to our cherished customers. As an interim arrangement, the public is hereby notified that PDS will provide the following services on behalf of ECG. All activities related to electricity retail sales, including but not limited to meter reading, billing, distribution of bills, bill reconciliation, any related service. In the light of the above, all payments and other related activities shall continue to take place at PDS regional and district offices, PDS existing customer service centers, and other banks. All checks shall be issued in the name of Power Distribution Service Limited. So that's a statement that clearly spells out the modalities to prevent disruption of power supply. Another fit in the jigsaw puzzle that we're all trying to figure out is also Downwell Insurance. They also issued a statement in the course of the week, essentially indicating that they were quite disappointed in what the letter of Arcoot is the reinsurance company in Qatar, and essentially saying that they were disappointed in the statement or the letter that they had released, that they were actually do not have the required resources in terms of the reinsurance that had been done through Joe Australia and Cowbank, among others. We'll start the discussion in the studio. Now I begin with Elvis, yes, on this issue. It's been interpreted, especially the statement between ECG and PDS, it's been interpreted as if to say that after PDS was suspended, ECG has been brought back through the back door. What would you say? First of all, your thoughts on the raging saga and this latest twist to it?
Well, as for the statement, I think that there's no option because we have only one single electricity distributor in Ghana. Okay. And the capacity to do it lies with that institution, which is ECG. Then when we decided to bring in a private sector participation, the option was that the new company that is coming should not come and develop its own capacities because we do not want to lay off the staff of ECG. So we transfer all the staff of ECG to PDS to continue the work. And therefore, the capacity to do electricity distribution lies with only one group of people, that is ECG employees, who are now PDS employees. So with the suspension announcement, if the PDS says, okay, you say you have suspended my license and therefore my staff are not going to do anything, nobody will have electricity in Ghana because currently ECG staff are just about 120 people. We have about 6,400 all now fully staff of PDS. And therefore, if PDS decide that, oh, you say you have suspended me, so all my staff are not working till the issue is resolved, who then gives us the electricity we have to enjoy? And therefore, for me, I think at that material moment, there was no option for those in charge to say there is another group of human capacity that can do same work, and therefore, so it's just necessary that power flows through our homes, and therefore, ECG could have said, okay, even though we are being asked to take over, we don't have the human capacity. And these people that are working for you now, we're our own staff, so we believe that we can work with them to continue to do all these things. And for me, that one, I think that there's very little we can do about it as a country, unless we want to say that the power system should shut down until the issue is resolved. Because I don't see how 120 people who are staff of ECG can distribute power and give us all that we need until the issue is resolved. So for me, that is about a statement. But on the general saga, I think the issue of contention here currently is about the guarantee. Okay. And the question is, how did we get here? The concession agreement initially is something at the process that they were going through till the concession was given. The issue is about those who are to take over the place. And let's all get it in mind that ECG needed about $1 billion to be able to solve its problems and become an efficient institution because they have a lot of inefficient equipment, old equipment we need to be replaced because there was lack of investment in ECG over the years. Okay. So this assessment was done by ECG workers. ECG management did all this and said, government, if you want us to be the efficient power distributor that you want us to be, this is how much we need. Our government said they didn't have the money to be able to invest. So we were lucky to be given a chance by the United States that a second compact is available and that we should choose an area, and energy was chosen. So as part of the compact, we were given just close to $500 million, and that $500 million, about 350-something million is going into the turnaround of ECG in terms of the management and some other things. But when that is done, you need an additional $100 million investment each year for the next 5 years to be able to replace the obsolete equipment and everything about ECG for it to become somehow efficient and give it the kind of service we desire.
So that brought about over 400 million from the MCC.
The MCC is the management and all those, the capacity building and those things. But then the reinvestment of changing the equipment and all those things, that one needs to come from the private sector. Mm-hmm. And that is where, as part of the concession, the MCC say because the money they are given cannot be up to the money we need to do the reinvestment, then we need to bring in the private sector to come and inject the needed capital for the first 5 years. We said we need at least $500 million. So each year, $100 million in order to replace key infrastructure of ECG and solve most of the problems that we complain about. And that's how come the concession issue came in. So we went through the whole process, and initially the previous government said they want to give 80% to a foreign, a private investor, for 20% to be a Ghanaian investor.
And then the number of years was also a serious contention at the beginning, for 25 years.
So then there was a change of government. For me, the tenor, for now, I'm talking about the Then the new president said he wants 51% for the Ghanaians and 49% for foreigners. And at that time, someone like me raised the issue with me that the request for proposal information you put out is about 80-20. So if the president says now we should be 51-49, then you need to cancel the entire request for proposal and put in a fresh process, because now the information the people used to apply is not the same as what we are talking about. So then why don't they do a fresh process? The explanation is that because we need to meet timelines of the MCC, going back and doing the process fresh would have been problematic. So they will prefer that they will conclude the process, and then whichever foreign company wins, it will now have to agree to the 49%, while the 51% is given to Ghanaians. And the guarantee aspect, if you read what is out there now, especially what media has put out, what is in the contract, initially they were supposed to provide the bank guarantee. Yeah. But for 3 consecutive occasions, they could not meet that requirement. But it is a condition precedent. So what happened was that the PDS, through Carl Bank, proposed that instead of the financial guarantee, they will provide an insurance guarantee. Why? Because they said that the tariffs at the time are not good enough for them to present as a calculation for any bank to get credit from any bank to be able to run what they want to do. But if they convert it to an insurance guarantee, that they can secure. And that, according to me, that discussion with all stakeholders, they agreed to change that particular condition. So now it went for insurance guarantee. Now we have been told that the insurance guarantee, the company has written to Ghana government that there are some issues with the guarantee. And we are now hearing that the output we are talking about is purely saying that because premium has not been paid, they cannot deliver the contract they signed, and therefore they are cancelling it.
But Danwell in their statement are saying they paid some $7 million.
This is what happened. In fact, under normal circumstances, ECG should not be dealing with our code, because ECG has no business with our code.
It's PDS.
It is PDS, and PDS contracted Carl Bank, and Carl Bank also, as a bank, they cannot do insurance. They contracted Danwell. Danwell, the figures involve $350 million. It's beyond them, so they need a reinsurance company. So then they look for a reinsurance company and ended up on Joe Australia.
Okay.
And then Joe Australia then also said, I am an agent or I am a broker for Alkut, and therefore we'll do the business, and then all the document, whatever we have been told has been signed. And that's the document that is in contention now. But if you look at the statement Mida said as far as February, they made sure that whatever they got as insurance cover is genuine. And even by the contract, once the concession is given, the insurance is not even revocable. You can't even revoke it. And if you look at what has happened now, a lot of responses have come, and I think it's now opening up the issue for us to know what really happened. Okay. Yeah.
Larry, I'll bring you in here. You started running stories on PDS even before the agreement was consummated, if I may put it that way, in terms of the stakeholders and the rest. With your deep understanding of the issues, the proposition for an investigation to get all of these matters resolved. Let's start off from there. What do you make of it, and all of the fresh issues that have come up this week?
Thank you. First of all, my colleague Elvis said a couple of things which I think that were largely, maybe he missed up a couple of the issues. For instance, you see, when you say that ECG doesn't have workers and that the workers are PDS staff, okay, once that is not entirely accurate, because
why?
First of all, once the government says that the deal had been suspended, it is as though nothing had happened. So wait, so the assets and then the workers of ECG that had been taken over by PDS revert back to ECG for the operations to continue.
There were two aspects.
Is word of mouth and the contract. But the government has not to return the contract.
There were two aspects of what PDS was supposed to do.
Sure.
The distribution and then the lease agreement for, I think, the assets and the equipment. It is, per my understanding of what I've read, is the distribution aspect that was suspended. That's what the Energy Commission withdrew.
That the
Yes.
asset?
But the assets,
But the
we still
asset,
have.
the asset, they should
It
continue.
has still not been. That has still not been withdrawn.
So why? It is only the asset that had been suspended. The whole arrangement hadn't been suspended.
the distribution.
The distribution is what has been
Because
suspended.
everything, if the deal, the concession comes with all these packages.
Yeah.
So if you are suspending something, you are either suspending it in entirety, or you are not taking action at all. You get me?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that the staff, the technicians, and everybody that works with ECG and had been taken on by PDS go back to wherever they had come from. If genuine government really wanted to investigate this thing in the first place. But from the word go, they were not interested in that. In any case, we talked about, you see, to study this, and Duke, you are a parliamentary correspondent. Go and pick the Hansard of that is July 24th. That's Tuesday, July 24th, 2018. And read the reports of the Energy Committee that came before the House. And see whether or not these guys had met the terms of all that had happened, all that were discussed. The argument, whatever proposals that were put forward, which were examined by this committee, whether or not PDS is meeting them. Now, changing condition precedent to condition subsequent and so on and so forth. It's all about, protecting the interest of family and friends. We should get this whole deal clear. Then you appreciate where we are coming from.
If you say family and friends, what
family and friends of the president.
These are things that we cannot independently verify.
You can't verify their belonging.
You can't independently verify. So if you are putting them out, you would have to prove that this is what you are saying.
You can't. Why? That what?
No, like you're making a point. Yes. So, but I just want to put on record that these are things that we may not be independent.
Who are involved in this transaction?
Tell us.
Okay, so you have for the first time this whole concession was taken to Parliament by the Energy Ministry.
Yeah.
Now you don't have the Energy Minister speaking to the issue. You have Minister of Finance speaking to the issue. Why? Where is the Energy Minister? You might even want to go back to talk to Boakye Jarko, the one who took the deal to Parliament, whether or not, what were the conditions? Because you see, Boakye Jarko he's trying to come back, into the limelight to Parliament. Now, he had served in that capacity. The fact that he did something and he was sacked doesn't mean that he's not answerable to Ghanaians in any way. Go and ask him. Again, I'm saying you are a parliamentary correspondent. Speak to whoever, this gentleman, the MP for Dotobiri.
Kwasi
Ajman. He laid the report before Parliament.
Chairman of the Energy Committee.
Precisely. Why is he not talking? Because, what was his name? Katie Hammond had laid a lot of, had put forward a lot of issues. Saying, now listen, when that committee met, they had issues with these guys. They knew that from the word go, they couldn't provide the financial guarantee that, that they needed. They knew that they didn't have the capacity in the first place. Katie Hammond has spoken, and he's been on your show, he's been on Joy FM, he's been every available media space that, calls him, he's spoken to it. Why is the person who laid the report before Parliament not speaking to the issue?
Because at this point in time, this is a transaction of a serious national asset that the finance
Precisely.
ministry
Once it is serious, then this guy should be talking to it. What came before them at the committee level? I mean, what was the due diligence that even if the transaction advisors had failed, MIDA had failed. MIDA had failed because they are largely government, person. The Minister of Energy is there, the Minister of Finance is there, the Minister of Gender, the Minister. It's a whole government.
But they were involved in the advice and in their statement.
Precisely.
Indicated that they had done all that they had to do
due diligence. How about the parliamentarians?
Okay.
How about the parliamentarians, including this, the chairman of that committee? Or after that, he's gone to bed. Nobody should question him. Boakye Jarko not speaking to the issue. If the president is missing the point all over the place, indeed, he said that ECG's assets is about 3 million.
3 billion. But that's a matter of fact.
This is the first time they had mentioned, I think the parliamentary hands had mentioned 22 billion. So that is a contradiction. Either the president is not aware of whatever is happening, or maybe he's not, you know.
For that, I doubt. But
by record, on record, ECG started to 22 billion.
2 billion. So if you have a president who is saying 3 billion,
not 3 billion, okay.
You get it. Again, there's something happening, you know, within that. After the approval that had taken, you know, place in Parliament, behind the scene, that, you know, shares are being, you know, pushed over all over the place, reallocation, readjustment, and all that. New guys are being introduced. You meet Anthony Otinjesi in the same arrangement. You meet a certain institution called Ghana Infrastructure, the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund. It's also being introduced in there. Then you have TBK. No, TBK had always been there. But then another company that is TBK World Plus Limited, different from another TBK Ghana Limited, which is being introduced. I mean, there's a lot happening.
Will the investigations help unravel this issue?
Is there any investigation at all?
No, I've been told there's an investigation.
You have been told, but then the president tells you.
A team of negotiators from the country have been in Qatar for some time now, negotiating.
Who is leading that team? If they were genuine and they want you to know, they will mention the name of the person who is out there investigating so that you go and question him. Brother, what did you find over there? Nobody is telling you. They only tell you that, that a group of investigators in Qatar. Who are they? What is their level of expertise?
For me, this is something that
you need the names. Ask of the names. Ask for the names. Who are they? You want to know them. You want to know them. And do they have the expertise? Because already we have an issue where a group of people, supposedly with the expertise and all that, had failed us, or they have brought us to where we are now. Now, the same government introduces another people that you and I don't know, except that, they come from various wherever. Various what? Okay? Who are they? Put the questions to them.
I think that, you see, we are mixing the two issues. Larry is not talking about the shareholders and all that. It's another issue. For me, I think what brought up the issue is about the guarantee. If we resolve the guarantee, whether it's really genuine or not, and they want to come to the shareholder, I don't know the legalities of the shareholder, whether, because it's a business, it's a private business, as to whether if Parliament has approved a deal, the shareholding structure cannot change. Because as for shareholding, it's about money. If people have money, you can invest. So that aspect, I've not delved into whether legally, after parliamentary approval, whether the shareholding structure of the private entity cannot change. That I cannot tell. But I think that solving the issue of the guarantee, for me, that is what has brought up all these issues, and it's important for us to have a finality to that. If after that we want to move on to who are the shareholders and how they got the shareholders, another issue, because Larry's issue of the issue he raised about the conditions, MIDA was the lead agency in terms of the entire process. And MIDA says all stakeholders, including them MIDA, agreed that instead of financial, they said they will rather accept. It's true, MIDA has stated that on 3 consecutive occasions, they were forced to extend or change the date of handover because the companies, the private sector, could not meet the financial condition. And it's based on that the private company, which is PDS, through Carl Bank, suggested that they should change from financial to an insurance company, which they all accepted. So I don't know whether this issue, as he's saying, is also wrong or not, whether the group have the right to change or not. Okay. So I think that MIDA's statement has actually set the issues right the way they are. Unless we have evidence to prove that what they have done, changing the financial quality to insurance, is illegal, then we can take it from there.
All right. We'll take a break here. When we come back, we'll take the final thoughts of our panelists on this issue and move on to our second matter for discussion. This is Press Conference. Don't go away. Welcome back. This is Press Conference right here on Citi TV. And just before we went for that break, we're discussing, trying to get full grasp of the issues regarding the suspension of PDS deal, especially the latest twist where PDS and ECG have agreed on modalities in order to prevent a disruption in power supply in the aftermath of PDS's distribution license being suspended for what government's calling a breach in demand guarantees for that particular deal. Before we went on the break, Elvis was making a point, but we would have our panelists, and we have our third panelist also joining us, Kwasi Afriyie, host of Business Edition on Metro TV. So I'll start with you, Larry, just briefly, so that we can move on to our second issue, which is also very important. Final thoughts on this PDS deal and how you think it can be resolved.
I think that there should be a commission of inquiry.
Okay.
There should be a commission of inquiry.
There's
no probe. Are you aware of any probe? They just told you that they've set up a probe. Who are the members of that committee?
So you call for a commission of inquiry?
You don't know. The president, there's an Angolan, aspect of this. Quickly, within 24 hours, a trip is planned. The president dashes to Angola, and then in Angola, he speaks about PDS, talking about suspension of it. Meanwhile, back home, the guys are being told that go back. The account has been defrozen. Go and manage it. Billing and all that. PDS, go back to work. So where really is the suspension? If the thing was actually suspended, why are we here? Why are the guys back at work? I mean, these are critical issues we need to be asking ourselves. Okay? I mean, and I keep telling you, he mentioned that, the leader came and said they had discovered on 3 occasions these guys couldn't meet the terms and conditions of the thing. They should have met all that before this whole asset is handed over to them.
So the commission of inquiry will settle everything.
Well, it's also been proven that mostly commission of inquiries, it's set up, the president, reports are handed over to him, he doesn't do anything with it. But what it does is that Ghanaians get to know what went wrong. At least if we know that, then we know the way forward.
Okay, Kwasi. Opening and closing thoughts will be on this.
Let me first apologize for running in leads. Because you have changed the time, I think I had a bit of a mishap. From
I'm sure Samens
okay. Yes. So if Samens is watching, would require him to at least add some 30 minutes to you. But let me come to the substantive issue. My point is, what really are we discussing? There are too many angles to this that we could be looking at. And I was here listening to my senior colleague Elvis of one aspect being the financial malfeasance, whether there is actually a financial malfeasance, and then one aspect being the shareholding. I agree with the Commission of Inquiry, but that would be if we don't believe the Minister of Information and what he's told us about the fact that there is a probe going on. Now, we come back to the issue, and we can now be looking at whether, as I said earlier, there's been a financial malfeasance. And if we look at that particularly, Elvis has already laid bare all the facts and all the details that are surrounding it. So I'll not go back into it. But if you look at it critically, I would want to state that government took a very bold decision in the spirit of probity and accountability. However, that decision came in too early, based on the facts available and based on too early, yes, based on all the stories that we are listening to. So we talk about the insurance cover and whether the premium had been paid or not, and the letter that came in from our court and all of that. You realize critically that the letter came in from our court because somebody didn't have the capacity, and because for them, they haven't received the premium. Now we have learned also that some $8 million and $4.2 or $4.4 million had been transferred to Cowbank, now to Danwell Insurance, yet to reach our court. So where is the delay of the money? Where is that money that we are looking at? Where has that money got into? If government had taken its time to go through the processes, to go through the mail, to realize where that premium cover has gone to and why it hasn't reached our court, I'm sure we would have been talking about a different story by now. So yes, in the spirit of probity and accountability, excellent, solid, bold decision, but you take your time and go through the process. Now we have had the issue of having people go to Qatar, having people go to other countries, having people, Angola and all of that. I am thinking that yes, a very good decision, but we should have at least.
Nobody went to Angola for PDS.
The president went to Angola. He went to Angola and spoke about it for the first time. He went to Angola for the first time. He went to Angola for the first time.
So like, yes, as I'm saying, I am thinking that we have had the conditions precedent and conditions subsequent and all of the issues. What we need as Ghanaians is results. What we need is power distribution. What we need is sustenance in the power that we are getting at a very cheap cost. Okay. So all of these things, I'm sure, of course, we don't have a lot of time. We would have gone into the shareholding and all of that. But let's be able to move to our...
Can I
no, on this issue, no, Larry.
I'm coming. One quick one, just a minute. Initially, PDS said they gave $12 million. They paid Akut $12 million.
No.
Directly, no, they haven't said that.
You can't pay Akut. They paid Carl Bank. Carl Bank went through.
Then the argument was that the insurance, $12 million had left Ghana for the insurance. Now Carl Bank is saying that it's actually $7 million that they paid Akut.
That is
so which one
is
do we
that
believe?
well that is saying that they received $7 million?
So you realize there are about four different institutions where the monies are supposed to go.
It doesn't mean that all the money will go. They according to Danwell, the work they have done for the insurance cover is worth $7 million. So they got $7 million anymore. They got $7 million.
Who brought the $12 million?
No, that one Carl Bank. If Carl Bank is the banker of PDS, whatever financial transaction they have, it may not necessarily be that all the money. I don't know, but what I'm saying is that for the insurance, is done well, and they say they received $7 million. That's what they.
And Carl Bank has actually acknowledged receipt of
this. Let me say. You give me the chance.
Yes, your final comment.
I think government rushing this thing about suspension.
Exactly.
I think in the contract there's nothing called suspension. If they wanted to terminate, they would have taken the attempt to do their work and terminate. By this suspension, looking at in the contract, there's nothing like that. So I think that they rushed. And looking at the turn of events, what I see is that Joe Australia and Alkut have their friction, and they visited it on us. I think that at the end of the day, government will eat humble pie, because I don't think that if it's about the insurance, I don't think that they really have an issue.
There is no issue at all.
If the change of the condition that they should provide the financial cover, and the team changed it, if we investigate that it is not legal for them to do that is another issue. But for the insurance cover, I think that government will eat humble pie.
Financial transactions can go on to remedy all the things that we are talking about now.
If assets are going, if assets are being handed over to private sector, we are not getting you think there are no issues?
Move on to our next issue, which has got to do with the Takoradi girls and the Takoradi kidnappings. Last week, human remains were discovered of some bodies. The police put out statements there about wanting to conduct some forensic investigations into what, if there is any link, forensics and DNA tests, if there's any link between the human remains they found and the girls who've been missing for close to a year now. The family of the girls who are missing actually briefed the press in Takoradi in the course of this week under review. We'll take excerpts of that press conference.
We don't believe that as division commander, he did a good job by helping the suspect to manage to escape from the central police station. We don't believe he did a good job. Divisional commander is named by Opoku, and then the district commander, and then the CID, who is handling the case initial stage, is also called Ametepe. And why we are asking for arrest is that the division commander promised the family that since the Samuel Wilson made a comment that before we find our lovely sisters, they will call somebody from Nigeria to come to Ghana, so that by getting that person, we can get our lovely sisters. And he gave the division commander gave the family assurance that in all costs he will make an arrest of the guy who is called John. And that John moved all the way from Nigeria to Ghana. He couldn't arrest that John, but rather the first suspect managed to escape from the police custody.
We do not believe that the body parts retrieved from the residence of the main suspects are those of our girls. If they were, then we will want to say that our police and the national security have not acted professionally. Elsewhere, the so-called septic tank will be searched right from the first day when the main suspect was arrested. We should not toy with the feelings of the families and Ghanaians.
So you had those were members of the families of the 3 kidnapped girls, initially resisting that they were not going to take part in any forensic audit or investigations into the remains, DNA tests, and things of that kind to support the ongoing investigations. But by the time the week ended, 2 of the families had actually acceded to that request by the police. And yesterday, a team of forensic experts from the police were in Takoradi to do just that. But the police has actually also been communicating with the public on these issues. There's a Twitter feed which has some of the things the police said in the aftermath of the discovery of the human remains. It says the police made a discovery as a result of ongoing efforts at examining several angles of the investigations. Claim that a confession or a tip-off led to the discovery are untrue. The police administration assures of covering all the other angles of the investigation, while it expects to conclude DNA tests within the next 4 weeks. As on Saturday night, August 23rd August 2019, police held discussions with families of the 3 missing ladies to assist with DNA samples as part of the investigations. The families are cooperating with the police in this endeavor. So I would come to the studio and begin with Kwasi on this issue. Are we close to resolving this?
I think we are close, but let me begin by commending the Ghana Police Service for how they have been conducting themselves on the latter part of this whole issue, and then condemn them on the early part of the issue when we started agitations from the media and started talking about it, when it came to a point where they had not taken any single action until a time where it was so rife in the media that they need to take an action. And then when they took an action, we were not seeing them even liaise with the family. They told us at a point in time that there was a liaison officer between the police and the family. And then we realized that wasn't the case. And by and by, we have gotten to a point where now we have a Twitter feed where they're actually giving information minute by minute on what is happening, so that even we, the citizens and the lay people around, if we find anything suspicious, we'll be able to tell them, we'll be able to get them a lead for proper and better investigations. I think they had not handled it properly and well enough for me until a time where it became, or it took a national form. Now I think they are on course, and what's happening now is good for us. Personally, I have a feeling that the girls are not dead yet, and we may be able to find them.
Irrespective of the discovery of the bones, there's no link between the discovery of the bones.
Not at all. And then we should caution ourselves and all other media men how we do reports and how we put things out in a bid to sensationalize things, to run out, to put the information out first. We tend up making all sorts of allegations and putting all sorts of information out there, which is not the case. However, the police should be up to task, and the police should be able to run with us. But I still have a feeling that the girls are not dead yet. We may be able to find them. And then the famous Tiwa Dankwa's statement, we know where they are. And up till now, we haven't been able to find them. But the point really is, at the time, some of us condemned. At the time, some of us spoke about it vehemently. But we were not too, or let me put it that we are not security experts. Mm-hmm. So we're cautious in how we were talking. Now we can go back to Tiwa Dankwa and say, you were wrong in what you were saying. Some people called for her resignation and all of that, and all of the issues that came up when the issue of an IGP, who becomes an IGP, and all of that came up. But so far, I think so good. Okay. In the sense, just that it's taking too long a time. We need to know and find the whereabouts of the people, and I'll let the families as well. It's a very passionate matter if we want to go into the details of it, but I'll urge the family to cooperate with the Ghana Police Service. Let's be able to know the whereabouts of the girls, and all of us would come at peace.
Okay, Larry.
Yeah, first of all, I think that there are 2 sides or even 3 sides to all this. The investigation before, the investigation now, and then, you know, what as a people we need to take out of it. Okay. First of all, the whole thing is beginning to look as though Tiwa is the embodiment of the Ghana Police Service. It goes beyond that. Okay? It goes beyond that to each and every police officer who is in uniform. The investigation should be broadened. And if indeed the girls haven't been found, let's dig further to locate where they are. If they are the ones who had been discovered, in skeletal forms, let's see what we can do, to ensure that, whatever harm there is minimized to a greater extent. And as a people also, we need to learn from that. A lot of people pose as friends just to earn our trust. And out of that, they lure you, and then, a lot of things happen. My information is that this guy kept talking to this girl for a long time. To understand that one of them was even called out from a church. she was in a church, at a church program, and then she had a call. She told her colleagues that she would be back very soon. And that was the last that they saw of her. Now, how about the other one? It wasn't as though, this guy drove a car and then, bundled her into the car and then drove off. But it's from the investigation, it had taken some time, and then they had built, a certain level of trust. And it is out of that they met. And then whatever, now they can't be located. We should be very careful who we trust, who we meet, and then what we discuss with those people. They might not be friends at the end of the day. Let's see, Having said that, I'm told also that currently pathologists are, trying to put the remains together. That's the bones that were discovered. They're trying to put them together, and after that, they will meet the family sometime in the week and then get the DNA sample so that they will go and do the test. The family has decided to cooperate with the police now, and so police pathologists, other pathologists from Komfanoche and all that are being put together to have this whole thing sorted out. It is after the DNA, is established whether or not these are the ladies, then we can move on from there. But it's very pathetic. Even when your loved one travels and you don't hear from him or her, you know the feeling. But for these girls to be missing, and presently we are having to identify them through skeletons and so on, it's very difficult. There are people like him who, there are a lot of people who are still in denial. I'm also part of them as well.
So you would label the fact that people expect they still think
exactly.
that one of the families even is still
that thing
insisting.
where your dad is dead and then you feel that okay, he'll wake up very soon. Even on the day of burial, you're expecting somebody to wake him up.
Anyway.
So such things happen, but it is the management of it that is.
Okay, Elvis, your take on this.
Oh, okay. Yesterday I was reading a story from the U.S. 3 men who were missing were only found this week, 2 years ago. Their remains were found in a pickup that was sunk in a river. And for after 2 years.
A fourth case was also reported this week as well. Yes.
The police were looking for 4 people.
Four
4 girls who had gone missing, but the three of them were more pronounced.
Popular came into the public space much more.
But there's another, school of thought that we could be dealing with a serial killer and then, a psychopath. Okay? He could kill and then he doesn't remember the thing anymore. It's...
Okay.
So these things, they happen everywhere in the world. The only problem I have with this issue is the way the police in the Western region behaved from the onset. They really didn't take the report from the parents very seriously. And that created a lot of vacuum. Until the media took up this case, the issue was not any issue that the police in the Western were treating seriously. And for me, that is a big blow. And the other aspect is when the gentleman broke jail, was rearrested. He made a statement that he was assisted by police officers to break jail. The court has sentenced the gentleman for breaking jail. But as we speak, the police service has not been able to tell us that they investigated the allegation that he was assisted by police officers and they found the police officer culpable or not. So aside the interdiction of those officers from the onset, nothing has been heard of that. These things don't build confidence in the police service. So I think that their actions in the Western region specifically was problematic. And I think that police service need to be able to take care of some of these things if they want the public to have full trust or some high level of trust. Now, currently, the trust in the police service is very low. And it is because of actions like this. That's why people really don't really want to believe in them. So I think that the police have really messed up the whole process from the beginning. And that is why we blame them for all that has happened so far. But now that some remains have been found, we can only appeal to the family that they should assist the police with the DNA samples. Let's have the test. If those are the girls, yes, we will sympathize. If they are my sisters or my family members, I will even be more angrier than them because the way the state institution that's supposed to protect me behaved from the onset. So we want them to do the test. If those are the girls, we will move on. If they are not the girls, we still continue searching because the suspects still continue to insist that they sold the girls to a human trafficker in Nigeria who is using them for sex trade or something. So even after the discovery of the remains, he still insists that the girls are alive. So if that can be believed, it will depend on the outcome of the DNA test. So when that is done and we know the outcome, then we can say that, okay, the girls are not there, so let's keep searching. But you see, for these cases in terms of abduction and kidnapping, all over the world, they exist. And many countries with even the most sophisticated security agencies are grappling with it. But once you follow the standard operating procedures in your work, nobody will be blaming you because after all, you are not the one who said the people should be kidnapped. Our problem with the police service is that their standard operating procedures were not followed. They did not do what they're supposed to do from the onset, and that is why we seem to be heaping a lot of blame on them. And as Afriyie has said, from last week till now, at least they have decided to use social media to provide some updates on some issues. And if the media even reported and the report is wrong, they are able to come out and say, oh, this particular report you are reading, that is not consistent with what we are doing. And I think that it is clearing the space because earlier there were so many media reports out there, and they did not respond to it. So people take them as the facts and we're working with them. So I think that their response these days is also very important. I think that we should understand that as a country that is touting that we are performing economically, we will attract economic migrants. And among the migrants are criminals. Okay. And looking at our porous borders and everything, and the porous border is also showed in this case that when the first suspect was arrested, the others ran away to Nigeria. And that all the two that have been arrested now were all people who ran away from this country to Nigeria. And they realized that it's a syndicate because the first person was arrested. Now we have 3. So it means that the kidnapping business is coming. And Takoradi, with oil find, will definitely attract a lot of people because of the oil find and the economic boom. Okay. And these people will include criminals.
We will end this subject here. We'll take a break, and when we come back, I'll get into some of the messages you've sent, and we would look at the last issue for discussion briefly before we draw down the curtain on the program. You're welcome back to press conference right here on Citi TV. I still have in studio Elvis, Kwasi, and Larry. We're discussing matters that have come up this week. Press conferences generated, and we're looking at it from the media perspective. To look at some of your messages that have come in so far, we have this one from Raymond from Bedu Chrome says, Duke, don't you think we need to go back to colonialism? Well, I don't think so. We live in a country where nepotism, backbiting, individual glory, and politics is our hallmark. Simple electricity we cannot manage. God help us. This one from Maximus Aurelius in Koforidua says, I'm finding it difficult to really understand the argument being put forward by MEDA. Are they saying they did a thorough job? So how come this abnormality wasn't seen? It seems we brought this level of utter shame and embarrassment upon ourselves. My regards to Larry, he was once my boss. So that's one for you. This one says, from Stephen in Kintampo says, I wish these girls were the daughters of our politicians. Much effort would have been applied to finding them. It's sad for the country. Prince from Koforidua says, on 4th April 2019, the CID boss told the entire nation that they know where the ladies are. So the parents should keep on praying and that they will deliver the ladies to them. On 24th April 2019, Daily Guide told us that the ladies have been rescued and that they were at an unknown hospital receiving treatment. My question is, of all of this chronological evidence and information given to us given out to the missing ladies' families, how do we expect them to cooperate and now trust the police for whatsoever they are telling them? That's from Prince in Koforidua. The last issue has got to do with the suspension or the shutdown of Ghana Manganese Company and the restoration of, let me say, the license, or they being told to go back to do the work. 1 minute, brief comment on this issue, and then we'll wrap up for the day. Elvis.
Well, I think that the way we are running state institutions in this country needs total overhaul. A company that is making losses of $300 million, it's not a joke. And we are sitting here and say they should go back to operation. We are not finding out how the losses were made, how we can address it. I think that that's what I always say, that government must be run like a business. That's the only way we can survive. And I think that what is happening in that company, it needs a forensic audit, somebody to look into it. Raw material, you are digging it and selling, and you are making losses of $300 million. It is no joke. And I think that we need to stop this. You see, when we put our friends and families, politicians, colonists at places, when they are making companies lose money, we find it difficult to fire them. If we grow that way, state institution will continue to make huge losses. And this is you, Ghanaian, all of us, our money that is going down the drain. I think that we need a complete overhaul of how state institutions are run in this country for them to be profitable, because just raw materials from the ground and sell, and you can make losses of 300. If you are asked to refine it, what will happen?
I think it is straight absurdity on the part of the managers of the company, and then we need to be able to crack the whip as a country, particularly politicians, particularly government, particularly people at the helm of affairs. But I would dare say that the problem of the country is not only politicians, but we as citizens of the country. You are placed at a managerial position to manage an entity like this, and as my brother is saying, you dig and sell and you're making losses. And the problematic part for me is they are expanding in scope the tons or whatever it is that they sell every year. They just have to be jailed, because you see these same people not paying taxes, not paying royalties. There is a conscious agenda to default. There is a conscious agenda to run into losses. There is a conscious agenda by these people to run the state down. And so we can't just ask them to vacate posts, and then after a month or after 2 weeks or a week, we ask them to go back. In fact, the minister promised that he was going to take legal action against them if his meeting with them doesn't yield any positive results. What has come out of that meeting, if the meeting has been held already, and if it hasn't been held, why is he asking them to go back?
Well, the decision for them to go back came out of the meeting they held on Friday.
What are the decisions? What are the results? What did they arrive at? We should be able to know, because we can't sit there and allow $300 million just to go down the drain and nothing is being done about it as a country.
Larry, have your last word.
And we'll get up and blame politicians.
I think that the government is not accountable to anybody. The government is not being accountable to a lot of people. You can't say that, listen, we've suspended your staff, then the next moment go back to site. What kind of inconsistency is that? What did he find? Already, the guys are expanding their business. Every time they are shipping, manganese out. What are we getting in return? That lies in the heart of of all this discussion. In any case, I mean, if this is what the Chinese are doing to, Ghana manganese, what would they do to the bauxite that, President Akufo-Addo is getting them to come and mine? It is not just, the talk is becoming too much. The action on the ground, nothing. What is like Kwasi asked, what is the country getting from all this? Like he asked, Elvis asked, what is the country getting? We are talking too much. The speeches are becoming too many. We are not getting anything. You suspended the thing, investigate. What have you investigated? They should go back to the site and continue whatever they are doing. In one breath, you have in one breath you have the mines and energy mines and who
energy minister, lands and
natural
resources
taking
minister.
Charge of this thing, also fumbling. And then you have PDS also, where the PDS, the energy minister, has been shoved to the side, and it's the finance minister who is running the show. Maybe the finance minister should go and run this one too, as well. Let's see what comes out of it. The confusion, the mismanagement is so visible.
On what evidence did you suspend them? And within 3 days, you are telling me that they should go back.
The investigation they claim started somewhere in 2017. The minister said.
Yes, it's a technical audit from 2017.
Where is that report?
Yeah, okay.
Can we say...
And a whole year's report you suspend, so it took 3 days for you to reverse it. What new information?
Allow the same.
What new information has come?
Happened. Because the Chinese, we know, they will pay.
A lot of questions to be answered with this Ghana manganese shutdown and the matters arising. It was a story that will develop hopefully. Next week we would have much more to say regarding that. But I had in the studio Elvis, Darko, editor of the Final newspaper. We see Afriyie, host of Metro TV's Business Edition, and Larry Dogbe is editor of the Herald newspaper. My name is Mensah Opoku. This has been Press Conference. Keep watching Citi TV.